What's up, everybody? We got a lot to talk about today. It's kind of a somber mood in here. What's up, everybody? How are we feeling? How are we doing? We got a lot to talk about today. Obviously, there was some big news that we broke, the news earlier. It's everywhere. Obviously, everybody knows Jason Verrett. He's out for the remainder of the season with a torn Achilles tendon. This is the second time of his career he's torn an Achilles. It's just, man, it's tough. His injury history, dating back all the way to 2014, it's very intensive. So prayers up, man, to Jason Verrett. Let's talk about his injury history because it's, like I said, very extensive. In 2014, he had a torn labrum, and then also in 2014 he strained a hamstring. In 2015 he had plantar fasciitis. In 2016 he tore an ACL, and then 2017 he had a partial ACL tear, so it was a second ACL tear, and then he tore his labrum again in 2017, and then in 2018 he tore his Achilles for the first time. In 2019, a partial torn patella. And then in 2021, obviously, we know he tore his ACL. And then just yesterday, he tore his Achilles, a different one. So he tore the ACL and the Achilles in both legs. Like, that's disgusting, man. That's just disgusting. I feel so bad, man. I feel so bad. Ryan says he would have been a top 15 cornerback ever if he was healthy, in my opinion. I agree with this, man. He had so much talent. This season, he was healthy for the Niners. The guy was like literally a Pro Bowl cornerback. Like, that's how good he was. And then when he was with the Chargers in his early career, he had a Pro Bowl season. I remember when he was on the Chargers, and there was a game where he was playing against Antonio Brown when he was in his prime, and he cooked him up. And he made Antonio Brown strapped. Like, he put the clamps on him, and I was like, oh, man, this Jason Verrett, he's so good. I remember it coming out of TCU when he was in college. I was like enamored with this guy. I was like, dude, this is such a good cornerback. I would love the Niners to get him. Always been a fan of his. He's always been a humble guy. I've talked to him many times behind the scenes, and just a good dude, man. Just a very good guy. You know, very humble, very nice guy. You could tell he wanted it so bad. He's tried to fight back through all these injuries every year. Like, people say, give up, give up, give up, but he keeps fighting, every year. And it's just like, you got to feel bad for the guy. What a bit. You got to feel bad for the guy. And that's tough, man. They kept giving him chances after chances because they know how hard he worked. I saw him this training camp, and he was looking like he was making some good progress, And, Shanahan through the weeks kept saying, we don't want to rush him. We don't want to rush him. We don't want to bring him back because he has had a big injury history. And it's just unfortunate, man. Like, having that many injuries, it just tells you maybe his body was just not built to play the game. And it's unfortunate, because injuries do happen. But God, man, oh man, you could tell D'Amico Ryans was shook today in the press conference. He just said everything good about him. He talked about how he was such a big inspiration and leader to this team. Like, he really helped Mosley become that guy who he was. And when he was going through the injuries, he was there for him to comfort him. Just a good guy. And then Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't know if you guys heard or saw what he said. I did tweet it. I did tweet what he said. And this is what Jimmy Garoppolo said. And, you could tell he was heartbroken for his guy. He goes, it's tough when you see a guy go down like that. The time you put into this game is unforgiving. When you see something happen like that, it breaks your heart. Prayers up to him. I love that guy, man. I feel for him. Like, you could just tell the team was just gutted after it. Deebo Samuel, Dave Lombardi, he tweeted out when he was in the locker room. He asked about Jason Verrett and stuff. And this is what Deebo Samuel said. He said the 49ers struggled to finish Wednesday's practice after Jason Verrett went down. So yesterday he went down in practice. They struggled to finish it. He says the injury took a massive emotional toll on the team. I mean, you can imagine he goes down, and what do? You're just like, oh God, man, it's just unfortunate. It is unfortunate, you know. So, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that he's had a bunch of injuries over his career, and having a torn ACL, it was hard for him to come back from that. So again, that was one of those things where people realized, is he going to be able to come back? And that's what we kept talking about. Everybody says, is Jason Verrett going to be able to come back? Is he going to be healthy? It was a tough burden on him, to have all that, weight on his shoulders really, and trying to come back and be a big time part of this team. You'd want him to be eased in, but again, the Mosley injury, I think, put a lot of stress on him, and trying to get back and healthy and be a big part of this team is definitely unfortunate. And mentally, you feel bad for the guy. That's a tough injury mentally. So, yeah. 49ers Minded says, get this dub for Jason Verrett. It is unfortunate, again, though, that's the problem. You get guys that have injury history. You kind of have to play that. It's a gamble. You have to play, if you're fighting fire with fire. Are they going to be able to stay healthy? It's a big if. It's a big, big gamble. They have had players that have had injury history in the past, and it burned them. So it's tough to see. It's tough to hear when you see an injury like this. But, it's a guy that has had a tremendous injury history, and you just hope that he can break that injury woes. But it's tough when you have one injury. It can lead to another one, so but yeah, now we have to move on. Obviously, he didn't play all season, so we didn't have him in the lineup. He wasn't there last year, so the team knows how to play without the guy. They have young players. That's why they drafted players. You have Deommodore Lenoir, who's going to have to keep stepping up. He's been in there for a while now since Mosley went down. You have Sam Womack, the rookie. He's played a lot of special teams, but you're going to have to lean on him a little bit more. Maybe he can play a little bit of the nickel. And Mooney Ward, you gave him a lot of money this offseason. Big-time player. Is Mooney Ward going to have to step up? You damn bet your bottom dollar. This is a guy that has to say big-time cornerback one type season out of him. We've expected a lot out of Mooney Ward, but now the expectations are raised for him. And then you have Ambry Thomas, right? Is Ambry Thomas going to be able to step up? He's kind of been up and down through his career with the Niners. He's had some good moments. He's had some not so good moments. He's a guy that might get thrown into the fire. You have Dante Johnson, 9 lives, right? Maybe they call him up and get him in the lineup a little bit. He's always ready to go whenever they need him. And then you have Jimmy Ward, who's playing the nickel this last couple weeks. I think they might roll with Jimmy at the nickel spot. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. So you got a couple players. You do have depth. Unfortunately, the injury was tough for this team, and Mosley injury was tough, but they did add a lot of depth. I think we are still in a good position, in the secondary compared to where they were last year. Last year, they had Josh Norman and, Dre Kirkpatrick. Those guys were terrible. So I feel a little bit more confident going into the rest of the season with the younger guys. Obviously, it's not going to be easy, and they're going to get picked on a lot. Lenore and Womack and Ambry, they're going to get picked on a lot. But the thing is, they got to step up. It's going to be trial by fire. You can't always coddle them. You can't hold their hand. They're going to have to step up. And again, Mooney Ward has to step up, man. It's going to be tough, But at the end of the day, it's not. At the end of the day, Mooney Ward has been stepping up, but again, Jason Verrett hasn't been playing this season, so it is a tough loss because we expected him to be that guy to take over, Emmanuel Mosley. So we wanted him to be that guy, right? Emmanuel Mosley to be that guy, but he wasn't. So we were hoping, okay, Plan B, here we go, Jason Verrett. He can step right in and be as good as Emmanuel Mosley, and then he goes down. So now you have to really lean on the youngsters. You have to lean on the youngsters. My man, Dick Tracy says, add Kinlaw to the list. Yeah, unfortunately, Javon Kinlaw, that's a guy that had a lot of knee issues coming into the league. They put a lot of stock on him. And unfortunately for Javon Kinlaw, he hasn't been able to, stay healthy. So it's tough, man. I don't know if Javon Kinlaw could even come back this season. I don't know if he's going to be able to come back. That's a guy that, again, he had ACL surgery, right? Reconstructive surgery. He had knee tendonitis before. A lot of issues with Javon Kinlaw. So, and now he had a flare up of the knee. He went on the injured reserve. Definitely doesn't seem like he's going to be back anytime soon. But we'll see. The Niners do have a lot of injuries throughout the years. Luckily, they've been getting some players back this week. Jason Verrett went down. Samson Ebicam is hurt still. And, he had a quad injury on Monday that manifested. He did not practice today. Arik Armstead did not practice again today. I doubt that Arik Armstead is going to be back at all. The good news is Deebo Samuel's back. Kyle Juszczyk is back. Elijah Mitchell's back. Dre Greenlaw came back to practice yesterday and today. Azeez Al-Shahir is back. So they got some players returning. They do have some tough injuries that they got to have to deal with, especially on that D-line. Armstead's still going to be a tough loss. So John says, we got to learn not to hinge our season on our expectations on JV as we did last draft going into week 1. And that's the thing. I feel like they did hinge and they really bet on JV staying healthy. It was a cheaper route. You take a guy like him and you bet on him. If he stays healthy, you get great production out of a guy that's very good if he's healthy, and it's going to be cost efficient. The problem is, can you trust him being healthy? You can't. You can't trust him being healthy. And I hate to say it, but we read all his injuries through the years, and it's not a pretty injury history, right? It's just not a pretty injury history. So, it's very, very, very ugly to know his injury history. So putting in stock with a player like Jason Verrett, it's kind of dicey. It's you're treading, treacherous waters. It is a gamble. Appreciate you, Dick Tracy. I love you, man. Appreciate the support. Thanks, my man. John says, I make no mistake, I love JV as I might. Yeah, and I do too. And I don't think it's bad to say that. What you just said. I don't think it's a bad topic. And I know Dick Tracy said the same thing. He goes, he said it in his comment. And I think a lot of people may have taken it negative. Like he said, I told you he was not going to be the guy 2 years ago. Or he said he's going to be a bust or something. Like, it's not a bad take. Jason Verrett has been through massive injuries through his career. And I love the guy. I love the guy. I've talked to him, and I've spoke with him. And the guy is such a great human being, class act, but putting in stock and banking on a guy that's had ACL, Achilles, torn labrum, like all these issues, that is running on treacherous waters. Terrence says it's like D Ford all over again. Yeah. It's tough, man. It's tough. It is tough. I hate to see this type of injury to a guy like that, but unfortunately, these things happen when you have players that are, injury prone. I guess you could say, like, bottom line, he's injury prone. Bottom line, he's injury prone. So, and it sucks to say it because it's not a bad thing, but he's like a good dude. Verrett contributed absolutely nothing to this team. I mean, he did have one really good season, but unfortunately, that season was a waste of a season. And again, your heart breaks for the guy because he's a good dude, but you got to be out there and put in. You got to be able to put in the work. So and benefit. He didn't do anything last year when they really needed a cornerback, and it really stunk because they didn't have good cornerbacks to take his place. And then this year, they expected him to be that plan B, just in case. And man, Emmanuel Mosley going down was just that was unfortunate. That's very unfortunate. Yeah, Jimmy Ward without the cast. I know. I got to post this up. I see it. Good stuff. Look at this. Jimmy Ward, no cast on. That's pretty good news, man. Let's hope that he has a better week. He hasn't been able to play much. He's been limited. He played a couple weeks ago, but he did have the cast on. It's hard for him to push off and get that, he can't get leverage when you don't have a cast on there. So, you see, that's the kind of comment that hits home. He's a very respected player whom has age and injury not on his side. It is tough. The players love the guy. Like, again, the players absolutely love Jason Verrett. Deebo Samuel talked about it. Again, he said that it was like a very sad practice last night or yesterday. And Jimmy Garoppolo said it was like kind of an awkward silence when he went down. It was like an awkward silence. So, these players, they hate to hear it. They hate to see it. You don't want to see any of your teammates. If you play any sport or anything, you don't want to see your teammate go down. So let's see. Jimmy Ward. He doesn't have a cast on his broken hand. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Does Jimmy Ward stay at slot corner? I think he might. I think he might. So I think that they're going to continue to play Ward at nickel cornerback. I think they're going to play Diamond Lenore on outside or Ambry. Whoever does better in practice, that's who's going to get that spot. And then you got Mooney Ward, right? So Jason Womack has to. All these younger guys has to step up. All these guys. Scary hours. Denard. That's a good question. You know, I think they cut the guy, didn't they? Didn't they cut Darkus Denard? They got a lot of younger. They got Kadar Holman. They got another guy, Kadar Holman, that they brought into this team. So, I mean, they do have some options, but I think that it's really going to have to come down to Diamond Lenore and Ambry Thomas and Sam Womack. Those are the guys they've invested draft picks from, and I think those are the guys that are going to be, stepping up to the plate. They're going to have to. Shades by Shardo says Gibson is not good. Jimmy Ward needs a spot back. I agree that Jimmy Ward needs to play safety. I think over the last couple of weeks, Gibson hasn't been as strong as he was several weeks ago, right? But with all these injuries, they're trying to rotate and put the best 11 players out on the field. I agree with you, Shades. I want to see Jimmy Ward back to his natural free safety spot. That's where I want to see him. I think he's better off in that spot. So. Let's see. I agree with this. Ambry is getting opportunities time after time. He has to any of these players have to capitalize, right? Any of these players have to capitalize. Bottom line, if you're Diamond Lenore, if you're Sam Womack, if you are, Ambry Thomas, this is your opportunity. You're a young player, but this is your chance. This is your chance to go out there and make the most of it. So you got to go out there and grind. They're not going to babysit you anymore. So they got to go out there and make the most of their opportunities. Oh, Shade says 9 lives getting a shot at. We'll talk about that. Would I like to see Trey get activated? You know what? I actually don't. I love Trey. That's my guy. I'm glad he's healing, but I don't think he's going to be ready. I mean, that's a tough injury mentally, and you don't want to rush the guy back. I think, unfortunately, and Kyle did talk about it, that he's pretty much shut down for the rest of the season. So this is a guy that I think, unfortunately, he's done. We got to accept it. I'm glad he's healing well. He doesn't have the boot anymore. Like, he is definitely progressing very well, but I don't want to see him get rushed into anything. And I think it's for the best for them to just say, hey, look, Trey, he'll be back next year, and go with that, go with that. So. VZ says, does this injury affect the locker room to where they're going to be down and out, or do they go out and ball out? I think it's both. I think they are right now processing it, and they're down and out. That's what it seems like. That's the vibe I'm reading. Again, Deebo said he was, it was an emotional day yesterday. Jimmy in his press conference said it was tough. It was an emotional day. D'Amico said it was tough. All the players and the coaches are saying it was kind of a somber mood. But I feel like this is a team move. It's going to unite them, and they're going to want to go out there and ball out for JV, win for JV. But I think for now, initially when a player gets hurt or injured or whatever the case is, when someone gets, when there's a bad news, you're going to react to it in a negative. You're going to just be down and out. You're going to be upset. But when game day comes, I think they're going to be like, yo, we got to go and ball out. We got to go ball out for our boy, Jason Verrett. So I think it'll help the locker room, kind of get closer. This is another tough setback for this team, but I think that setback is going to make them play stronger. So. VZ says sucks. He feels bad for JV. I feel bad for the guy too, man. I feel bad for everybody. I feel bad for this team when they get hurt, But it is what it is. Again, they got to move on. It's tough. Injuries happen, and you do have to move on. So, good question. Do you see Trey come back and fully healthy if Jimmy goes down at the end of the season? I don't think Trey at all. And again, going back to what I was saying, I just don't think Trey's going to be able to come back realistically. I know he's healing good. I know like the injury news is it's great. He doesn't have a boot on, no crutches, all that good stuff. But I feel that it's still early. Like there's a lot that goes into that recovery of that injury. It's a tough one. I know like the healing process, the bone can be healed in 8 weeks, all that good stuff, yada yada. But there's just so much more intangibles, mentally. Is he able to, cut? Is he able to do these certain, return to activity criteria? There's a lot of return to activity criteria in that injury, pain-free weight bearing and just certain things like that. And then he has to get back in game shape. Like it's going to take him time to get conditioned and stuff. I know he's young and he can heal very quickly, so that's something he has on his side. But I think that it's just not going to happen. I mean, I would love to see Trey back in there, but it's going to happen next year. So, definitely love Trey though, man, and I think he'll be okay. I want to see him play, man. I want to see this guy play. You know, the team invested a lot. They invested a lot into him. 3 first round draft picks, and we haven't even seen him really. We really haven't seen him. It's tough. Yeah, I agree, Austin. It says we have so much potential. This hurts to see every year. Every year, it's the same thing. Um, it's tough, man. Injuries are the backbreaker. But I think this team is definitely a team that can move on from these injuries. But you got to realize too. And again, going back to the Jason Verrett injury, it is devastating. But the thing about it is, he hadn't really played for us, in a long time. He played one game last year. He didn't play at all last year. He didn't play this year. So in the long run, yeah, it's tough, and it's tough for Jason Verrett. But in the grand scheme of it, we didn't lose a player that was contributing, and I hate to say that, and I absolutely it guts me to say that we didn't lose a player that was contributing, but he could have potentially, right? But then you don't know what you could have got out of him. Again, with his injury history, like what could we have got out of him? They would have had to probably keep him on a pitch count. So again, it was a tough gamble to keep Jason Verrett out there. And they gambled and just didn't pay off. And again, I feel so bad for the guy because he has worked hard to try to come back. You can see him out there every day at training camp. Like he was working his ass off. And I was like, man, he really wants it. But I think unfortunately for him, it's probably going to be end of the road. I think they're going to get an injury settlement, and he might be done. This might be the injury that finishes his career, and that's so sad to hear, man. Very sad to hear. Who do we sign at DB for Norman? I think they'll just call up Dante Johnson. I think they'll call up 9 Lives. You bring him up to the roster. I honestly think that's what they're gonna do. That's the way I see it. That's the way I see it. VZ says, is Juice good to go? Juice is good to go. He will be back this Sunday. He doesn't have a cast on. If you've been keeping up with his social media posts, last week he was in Lake Tahoe, and it didn't look like he had the cast on. He came back to practice this week, and he was full go. So, yeah, Kyle Juszczyk will be back. The Kaepernick curse, is that what they're calling it? Hadn't heard that before. Who do you think the toughest matchup? These games are manageable. I agree, Austin. I think these games can definitely be won. But I think the toughest matchup is going to be Seattle because, A, it's a division game. Division games are always tough. I mean, you add 10 layers of intensity to it. And I also think that Miami game is going to be very tough. Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel is going to go want to take a beat. He's going to want to go out there and prove himself to Kyle. So, Yeah, S. Flood says Elijah Mitchell's looking quick. I'm so excited for Elijah Mitchell to be back with Christian McCaffrey in that backfield. But if we're talking about injuries, Elijah Mitchell, he's got to stay healthy, man. He has to. That's another guy that I'm worried about. Is he going to be able to stay healthy? I don't know, man. I hope so. I pray that he's going to stay healthy because this is a great player. He's shifty, and he can catch out of the backfield if needed. He's a great running back, and he's only in his second year. And last year in his rookie season, he set the Niners rookie, rushing record. That's crazy. And he missed 6 games. The guy is great, but he has to stay healthy. So, Austin says, "Do I think McDaniel is going to show out more than Shanny?" I mean, if if you coached with Shanahan for your whole career and now you get your head coach opportunity, oh, he's going to want to come and bring it. He's going to want to show Shanny up. I think that's going to be a tough matchup, man. The 49ers throwbacks is all I feel is pain. I feel bad for JV. We all do throwback. It's a tough injury, man. It's a shitty injury. Like you could just tell how hard he wanted it. But again, like you guys said earlier in the comments, is it's unfortunate, but he has had a lot of injury history, and it's kind of one of those things where you were taking a gamble, you were taking a risk. Yeah. Miami offense is the Bay 49. It's the Miami Niners. And then you got the New York 49ers, the Jets. That's another 49ers team right there. They got like Quan Alexander, Solomon Thomas. They got DJ Reed, Robert Salah. They got a lot of Laken Tomlinson. They got a whole squad of Niners too on that team. The Jets and the Dolphins, they just took all their players. The B team. John V says student versus teacher always distracts. I got Shanny. I hope Shanny takes care of business. But student versus teacher is always the fun matchup, man. Usually the student doesn't prevail. Sometimes they do. That's going to be a tough matchup, man. I'm not even going to lie to you. That's going to be a tough. Miami looks good. They got 2 great receivers, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Both of those guys were um, they were able to get them. The Miami Dolphins was able to get those 2 guys because of the first round draft picks the 49ers gave for Trey Lance. So they're definitely benefiting from that trade. And then you got to realize we play those 2 guys, those receivers. Jason Verrett's not there, and you have young cornerbacks. Again, we're talking about the cornerback situation. Diamador Lenore, Sam Womack, Ambry Thomas. Those 2 guys, Sam Womack, Diamador Lenore, are those 3 guys actually, and Ambry Thomas. They're going to be tested a lot. So. Practice game, if anything, 49ers versus the ex-49ers. Who runs the offense better? Yeah, again, it's going to be down to who runs that offense better. Can Shanahan? He's the guy that taught them everything, right? S. Flood says all 3 linebackers back this week really shrink the field. You know what? Having all 3 linebackers, Aziz, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, that is such big news for this team because, okay, Armstead's out and Kinlaw's out, and that hurts with run defense and being able to get pressure up the middle. But now you have these linebackers that can really step in and they can kind of plug those gaps if they need to. So, and they can kind of shoot the outside too because those guys are quick laterally. They can go sideline to sideline. So now you have 3 great linebackers. It is going to help in the fact of not having Armstead. So it is nice to have your linebackers back. But how effective can they be? Again, they're coming off an injury, so the first game or 2, there's a little ring rust there, so they might be a little rusty coming back. But it is nice to have them. Can OBJ play corner? I hope he could. If he could, sign OBJ right away to play cornerback. Sign him right away. Can OBJ play corner? I hope he can. I would. If OBJ could play corner as good as he could play wide receiver, get him on the phone. Deebo, the wide back. CMC, the run receiver. The McDebo package. McDebo. I can't wait for McDebo. CMC, Deebo Samuel. Kyle Shanahan said yesterday that he's going to open the floodgates with those 2 guys. He's going to open the floodgates with CMC and Deebo. Woo! Makes me excited thinking about it. Yeah, I know that roster is stacked. It might overshadow him. You're right, but it's gonna, regardless of who has the better team or not at that point, it's 2 coaches that know each other well. When you know someone, you can look at the film and you're going to know their tendencies. You see how they lined up, And that's what it's going to come down to. Who is going to get the best of the other coach, and scheme and coach and film study and all that game planning. It's going to come down to those small little nuances of the game, and that's the way I see it. Thunder and Lightning, baby. Woo! It's definitely the 49ers version of Thunder and Lightning. I can't wait. The McDebo package, CMC, and Deebo. And I checked my shipping status. I should have my CMC jersey from the 49ers tomorrow. You definitely are reaching, John. Ryan says Herbert needs to lay an egg this week. I hope he does. He's good, man. He's a good-ass quarterback. So I know the Chargers are banged up. They got a lot of injuries. But let me tell you, man, Justin Herbert is a beast, and he's going to be a tough matchup. No matter what, Justin Herbert is going to be a hard guy to stop this weekend. I don't care if he's missing players. He's very good, and it's hard to stop that guy. And then you know what? Austin Eckler, that's another dog. You know what? If the Niners can neutralize him and stop their run game, they got a great chance. But the other point is, 49ers need to run all over the Chargers because they allow a lot of running yards. 5.7 yards a carry. Woo! 5.7 yards a carry. The Niners could gash these guys. If Mitchell is truly back and healthy, if CMC is, another week into this offense and really immersed himself into that playbook, and Deebo Samuel is back and healthy, these Niners should run all over them. 200 yards rushing. There shouldn't be an excuse. They should run all over them. So, it's going to be tough. It is going to be tough. And, you got a great quarterback, and we got to get pressure up on him. You got to get pressure. Ryan says, all I want for my birthday is for this team to stay healthy and sign OBJ. Well, let's hope they stay healthy for starters. I don't know if they're going to sign OBJ. I wouldn't mind it. S. Flood says, what does the team need to do when we play a team with 2 or 3 good wideouts? First of all, they got to pray. And you got to really step up, and you got to help that Deommodore Lenoir, Ambry Thomas can make those moves. And again, I know they want to play Jimmy Ward in that slot spot. I think you need to move him back to free safety because I think his ability to he can island a side of the field. Like, he's good at putting one side of the field of island. People don't want to throw to him. He's a very efficient safety. I know he doesn't get the big stats, the interceptions and stuff, but if you look at it metrically wise, he can shut down a field. And then you're going to have to throw to the other side, and that might force, if you can put Charvarius Ward on the opposite side of him, then they don't want to throw to Charvarius Ward and make him, you're going to make them have to pick and choose their battles. Do they want to throw to Jimmy Ward? Do they want to throw towards Charvarius Ward? And then again, you do have to have some players like Sam Womack and Lenoir to step up. But also, too, I think the 49ers have to get pressure. If the 49ers don't get pressure, it doesn't matter who they have in the backfield all the time because these quarterbacks can pick them apart. They have to get pressure. They have to get Nick Bosa in the backfield. And I think you have to get these guys like Drake Jackson and everybody in the quarterback's face. When the 49ers are doing good, it's because they're developing pressure. Quarterbacks don't have time to make throws. They don't have time to make good decisions. That is the key. Honestly, no matter what you do in the secondary, it all starts up front, and the Niners have to generate pressure. It really is all about the up front and the pressure. So someone other than Bosa has to bring the pressure. I agree, Goated, but the problem is, without Armstead, it's tough for them to really generate that pressure because he took a lot of double teams. I like Ebicam, I like Charles Omenihu, I like these guys, but I feel like they're just not as strong. I mean, we see Nick Bosa is like a generational passer. He's got the pass rush moves, the speed, the power, everything, the balance. Like, he's a stud. But when he doesn't have Armstead in there, he gets double teamed. Somebody else does have to step up, and I agree, because that's one thing they have been missing is the ability to generate pressure on the opposite side of Nick Bosa. So you're right. I agree. Somebody other than Nick Bosa has to do it. So he's getting work, man, and eventually he's going to get tired in these games. I mean, he's a beast. I know he conditions himself well, but, man, it takes a toll. I get tired watching him getting held and pushed and doubled. Somebody does have to step up to help Nick Bosa. I agree with that. Austin says, which Bosa will perform better? Well, it's going to be Nick because Joey Bosa is not playing this weekend. He's still out. He's still injured. I think he has a core muscle groin, like a groin or a core muscle injury. He's been out. I think he's on the injured reserve. Joey Bosa will not play this weekend. Drake Jackson better get his reps. He's getting slowly more and more every week, and I think Drake Jackson continues to develop in a nice fashion. I like Drake. He's good. I like what I've seen out of him. Drake Jackson definitely needs to step up, man. And if these guys are getting banged up, this is a perfect opportunity. Just like we talked about these cornerbacks, right? Ambry Thomas, Diameter Lenore, et cetera, et cetera. If these guys get the opportunities, they got to make the most of it. Well, so do these D linemen. Drake Jackson has to make the most of his chances and really showcase and put some good film out there so the coaches can say, hey, he's looking good. Let's continue to give him more chances. Let's continue. If you're a young player in the league, that's what you have to do is you have to go out there and earn your stripes. And when you go out there and you prove yourself, the coach is like, oh, like what I see out of this guy. So, definitely I like what I've seen out of Drake, though. Hey, Goated says, D'Amico needs to dial up the blitz. I think it's good and bad sometimes to blitz, especially with your secondary. If you go and blitz and you put too much pressure out there, you're going to leave your secondary exposed sometimes. If you can get the pressure and the blitzes work, yeah, correct. But you can't always blitz because that sometimes leaves you a little susceptible to the back end. So you got to play it. You got to balance it. But I do think they should blitz a little bit more. But you got to realize if you keep going all out and you bring the blitz, there's going to be players open. And if these quarterbacks can get an extra second to find that open guy, they're going to pick you apart. So it's a delicate balance. It's tough. So Alberto says they got to start calling the holding on Bosa. They never will, man. He doesn't get any respect. It's unbelievable. You see it every day. You see it every time he plays. He's getting hold, choked. I mean, I don't know what else we can do to show that teams know it. People know it. Just not calling it. I don't know what it is. But it is unfortunate. It is very stressful to see Nick Bosa out there getting just manhandled, held, and they don't do nothing about it. He's getting held, and he's still going through. Like, there's pictures of him. He's getting held like this, and he's still breaking through the line. So crazy, dude. It's so crazy. Start playing more zone. Yeah, more likely because if you play man to man and you can't get pressure up front, you're gonna get these young cornerbacks and they're gonna get beat. So I agree with that. Definitely something to. Deebo. Oh, Deebo just went off on Twitter. Oh, Deebo just went off. Yikes. Deebo went off on Twitter. Did you guys see this? Deebo just went off on Twitter. Holy God. I just see this now. I'm just seeing this now because I've been live. Did you guys see Deebo? Oh. He called out the fans. Deebo just called out the fans today. He says, I swear, some of y'all have zero respect when people get hurt. Ridiculous. Whoo. Wow. So here it is. Deebo just tweeted about 30 minutes ago, right when I started live, it looks like. He says, I swear, some of y'all have zero respect when people get hurt. Ridiculous. That's what he said. Just go on Twitter, look at Deebo. He says, some of y'all have zero respect when people get hurt. Kept it 100. Wow. I don't think he's lying, man. Because people were dragging Jason Verrett. I mean, this injury was tough. And there was a lot of people talking so much smack on Jason Verrett. Like, I get it. He has a lot of injuries and stuff. But, man, the stuff that people were saying, wow. Deebo Samuel, he came out. Clap back season for Deebo. Again, if you're just coming in, the Deebo says, he says, I swear, some of y'all have zero respect when people get hurt. And then in all caps, he puts ridiculous. God, Deebo kept it 100. Damn. Whoo! I like it. The locker room respects Jason Verrett. This team is going to feed off this injury. It's going to make them come together. Damn. Deebo don't play good. Deebo don't play around, man. But you know what? It's not just for Jason Verrett. It's not just for Jason Verrett. Look at some of these other players that have been hurt. Kinlaw, Armstead, Green, like Deebo himself. All these players get hurt, bro. Wow. I mean, listen. You want to know what some fans are saying? So listen to, not listen. Well, yeah. So these are some of the comments that were left yesterday on the Armstead thing, dude. So he goes. So somebody says him and Kinlaw need to go. This is Armstead. This guy, geez, he's always hurt. This guy's injury prone garbage. And then I text, and then some guy says, this guy's always hurt. And I responded to it. I said, actually, from 2018 until this season, he played all regular season games. So these people are making up stuff. Oh, he's always hurt. He's always hurt. He's made out of paper. Should have kept Defoe. That's ridiculous, man. And then today on the Jason Verrett news, I mean, there's some. I know there's some tough comments. Let me see. Retirement. Here he comes. This guy's career is over. You got to be kidding me. This guy just needs to retire. How unlucky can he be? And then this guy says, let's see. This guy was a waste. This guy was a bum. Oh, man. That's crazy, man. It's crazy. Fans get upset. They get emotional. Deebo came for their necks tonight. Deebo don't hold back. Deebo did not hold back. Woo! Deebo a little spicy. A little spicy tonight. It's spicy. But I see, man, trust me. Running a social media page, you see a lot of like negativity, a lot of toxicity. It's I mean, I get it. We get frustrated, like I get upset, frustrated and stuff. We come out here and we talk, but some of the stuff, like some people's, is just downright toxic, man. I see a lot of stuff. I get hate too. Y'all see it all the time. I get hated all the time. People tell me I look like a weirdo. I don't know. Oh man, it's crazy, dude. But yeah, Deebo, man, calling out the faithful. Yo, shout out to Jason Verrett. I know he's been through a lot. But you know, he's a good dude, and I wish him nothing but the best. I think he might retire, unfortunately. I mean, I can't see him coming back. John says, look at how fans went after Mostert's wife. That was tough. They went and bullied the hell out of her. Appreciate you, 49ers girl. Thank you, guys. Yeah, dude, people are always hating on me. It's weird, dude. And then you got that 49ers United. Dude is cracked out weird. He's hating on me, too, now. I don't know. I don't know what I did to piss people off. I think people are just mad because I have a popular page. People are mad. They're jealous. It's weird. It's just what it is, man. But I appreciate all the support. You know I do. I love all you guys. I wouldn't do this if I didn't respect the Niner fans and the faithful. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I do look like a weirdo. I appreciate you, man. I do look like a weirdo, huh? I guess so. I guess I do. But it is what it is. All love. Yeah, whatever. Anyways, I guess we end on that note, right? On a I guess we're gonna end on that note. Shout out to Deebo. Shout out to Jason Verrett. Let's hope this team stays healthy and gets a dub, man. Prayers up to my boy Jason Verrett. Tough injury. These young bucks have to step up and do what they got to do, man. Love you guys. I hope you guys have a good rest of your night. And we got a Thursday night football game tonight. I don't even know who's playing tonight. I've been so busy. Who's playing Thursday night football today? Let's see. Falcons and Panthers? Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. I might go to bed tonight. No doubt, Wells. I appreciate you. They always hate when you're winning in life. You're right. Haters fuel the fire. I love the haters. It's just as much as I love everybody else, because without the haters, page won't grow. Because guess what? They comment on your page. They give you engagement. Just makes your content keep growing. So, God, Atlanta versus Carolina. Oh, I'm going to throw up and then take a nap. I love you guys. Have a good night.